That's unusual, isn't it? It's an interesting color.
All right. The Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 Jasper City Council meeting is now called to order. We'll start with the invocation by Chief Poe, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Keith Pike. Please rise.
Bow our heads, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day you've given us and another day of life, Father. And just ask you to be with our leaders as they guide and lead this city and our nation, Father. And thank you for all your many blessings and watch after our first responders, Father. These things we ask in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. If the council has had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting on April 19th, is there a motion and a second that we approve those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. Kathy, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, sir. We'd like the council to consider adopting a resolution to award bids for the resurfacing of tennis courts and ground maintenance at Gay Reed Cemetery, and Jessica Cook will be bringing that information to you.
Okay.
Here's the motion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was writing real fast. Thank you. It would, if the council agrees to that amendment, we will add that when Jessica comes on item number 6. Is there a motion and a second that we approve the agenda with the amendment? Have a motion
Second?
and a second? All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. Item number 5, consider approval of event permits. Kaitlyn,
Good morning.
morning.
I have 2 permits to present to you this morning. One of them comes from the Bridge Educational. They are wanting to do a community-wide scavenger hunt at different landmarks and businesses throughout downtown. They're wanting to do that on May 21st from 9 a.m. to 12. And then the second one is a wedding reception that is going to be going on at Twisted Barley on June 25th from 4 to 10, and they're wanting to block 19th Street from 5th to 6th Avenue.
You've heard Kaitlyn's recommendations. Is there a motion and a second that we approve the permits as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
A second.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kaitlyn. Jessica, you're up. Go ahead and hit that first one so I can put it away. The consider adopting the resolution to award the bids for the resurfacing of the tennis courts and ground maintenance for Gay Reed.
Yes, sir. I recommend the selection of ground maintenance of Gay Reed Cemetery to Keebler's Pressure Washing and Lawn Care, who has submitted the best proposal by criteria. And I recommend the selection of the repair and surfacing of tennis courts and pickleball lines at Bevel State to Lower Brothers Tennis Courts, who has also submitted the best proposal by criteria. I request permission to send out bids for tires, tubes, and service. I request the adoption of a resolution to declare the following surplus property unneeded: the 2002 Peterbilt garbage truck. I request the approval of the purchase of the following capital outlay items from proceeds of the Capital Improvement Fund provided in the fiscal year end 2022 budget. The Police Department, $74,974.20 in total for 7 in-car camera systems, 8 in-car laptops, 8 radar units totaling. The Street Department, $64,000 in total for fuel system upgrade, $14,000. 2 unused vehicles from the state, $50,000. The Jasper Civic Center, $10,893.32 in total for a projector system. I request permission to purchase each of these items through either a competitive bid, an approved state bid list, or quotes related to the receival of such items.
Okey-doke. We'll take those as separate issues. Is there a motion and a second that we consider the, like she said, awarding the bids of the resurfacing of the tennis courts and ground maintenance of Gay Reed Cemetery?
Can we, Chairman, can we take those separate, those two separate,
Yeah.
please?
Okay. Is there a motion and a second that we award the bids for the resurfacing of the tennis courts?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
A second.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
And yes.
Chairman, can I say something on that? while we're on that?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have some discussion. I'm sorry, Willie.
I'm voting no because I've been asking for AP High tennis courts and, James A. Cox tennis courts to get a bid on those for the last 5 years, actually. That's one of the first things that I asked when I came in the office, and no one seems to care, or that hadn't been done. So I don't think we're just getting quotes, so why not get a quote so we know what we gotta work for?
Well-
So that's why I voted no.
Okay.
So the
Well,
citizens know I'm not
and that
fighting
makes,
nothing, but-
and that makes, I understand your word. Jessica, can we look at the same people looking at those two areas?
Certainly, yes, sir.
And, Willie, does that, if they look at that, and I still realize why you voted no and everything. Is that okay if Jessica gets?
I mean,
the-
that's fine, but I just don't, those courts haven't been surfaced in 25
Okay.
years, and we're just overlooking things over there, and it's just not right, not fair. Those are city courts, and they all look better than what they do.
Okay.
It's an embarrassment to the community.
And we'll get that on the next work session. I appreciate your concern. Is there a motion and a second that we award the bid for the ground maintenance at Gay Reed Cemetery?
I make that motion.
Have a motion
A second.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. And now a motion and a second to request to send out the bids for the tubes, tires, and service.
I'll make that motion.
I'll
Have-
second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. And now, is there a motion and a second for a resolution to declare the surplus property as unneeded as presented by Jessica?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. And then the last item, consider approval of the following capital outlay items that will be either done by off the state bid list or approved vendor for the police department, the street department, and the Jasper Civic Center. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. And Jessica, have the people that are looking and see, because it may be some package deal right there with that.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, thank you very
Thank
much. Introduce budget amendment 22-2308. Kathy?
Council members, I've asked Laney if he can to put on your screens in front of you the mid-year budget amendment that, we are asking, to be approved at the next council meeting, because it is pretty lengthy, and, it's a fairly big budget amendment. And Laney, that's it, thank you very
Mhm.
much. If you notice, and I did send a written explanation
Yeah.
yesterday, as well. But if you notice, we are, projecting that revenues will increase $2 million from now until the end of the fiscal year, above the $29 million that is in the current budget, bringing the total revenue budget to $31 million. The $2 million is a result primarily, $1.5 million from the new half a cent sales tax that the council recently approved. The remainder would be mostly due to what I believe we will see an increase in sales tax from the previous year of about a 2.7%. You know, last year we had an increase of sales tax at 14%. We are seeing currently 6 months into this year, sales tax at a little over 5% if you factor out the 0.5 cent. And I think I provided an explanation on that yesterday that hopefully helps explain some of that. In the expenditure area, we do believe that expenses will increase $332,700, mostly resulting from what we are seeing an increase in fuel. About $250,000, we are going to increase our fuel budget. And then we wanted to provide back to the street department about 40-something thousand because of some unusual taking down of stumps on Airport Road, and then some demolition of housing to try to get caught up for this particular year. If you go on down, you'll see net transfers, $1.5 million. That is the debt service that will be required for 6 months. The debt service on the money that was borrowed for the 2022 warrant issue annually is about $3 million. So this is 6 months of the debt, which all the revenue that we're receiving from that 0.5 cent is being transferred and reserved for debt payment. So the net change in fund balance, we do believe we will be increasing $167,300, bringing what we believe to be at the end of the fiscal year a fund balance change of $2.2 million. There was a lot of numbers in that budget amendment I sent you, but primarily it's these issues that I've just gone over with you. There's a lot of line item adjustments, but really no increase in departments' budgets other than what I have mentioned and sent to you in writing. So that's the introduction today.
And I like how you separate the two, because that 0.5 cent that was enacted upon is going to the 4-point plan and is committed to that
Yes, sir.
payoff. So thank you. Any questions for Kathy on the budget amendment? And this is just an introduction. If not, next item with the mayor, consider adoption of resolution to authorize the mayor to enter into an agreement with Labella Associates to perform professional environmental consulting services. Mayor?
Council members, all of you are aware that we have new leadership at the landfill, and I can't tell you how pleased I am with the work that's going on at the landfill. And I've been there probably on 2 occasions in the last month, and what we know is this does not rest at the feet of Carmen Harris, who's our new leader, that our landfill falls short of compliance with Alabama Department of Environmental Management. So how do you go about correcting those things? And what do you need to do to escape the wrath of Adam, because it can really, really be far-reaching. And Carmen, through some of her educational activities, made contact with Labella, a consulting group that have been willing to come on board and do some work for us. And having them connected to the city certainly provides some insurance for us if we have to work with Adam, get leniency if we need it. Our street department and the staff at the landfill have been working diligently to bring the landfill into compliance. It has an inert landfill, and add material you should cover on a daily basis. But we're getting close to that. makes a lot of sense to me to have this consulting group on our team to help us, and when you have that, then certainly, you'll get lenience from ADM as well.
And I think it's very smart. Any questions from the council for the mayor on this consulting agreement? If not, is there a motion and a second that we authorize the mayor to enter an agreement with Lobella and Associates?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. Item number 11, Mayor, you're still up, adoption of a resolution to authorize you to sign the 2023 agreement with M4A.
This is our annual renewal of Meals on Wheels, Mr. President.
Any questions for the mayor? Is there a motion and a second that we authorize the mayor to sign this with the M4A?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
I'll second it.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. Keep going, Mayor. Item number 12, adoption of resolution to authorize the mayor with McGehee.
Council members, you know, we'll get a new city hall. The location is the former Share Auditorium. Two things that is, we work with the architect that we feel that we need to know. We need to know what the presence of City Hall, what impact the presence of City Hall will have on current traffic flow, and what current traffic flow would impact it would have on City Hall if it's in operation. So we've engaged a firm of McGehee Engineering to do a traffic study. In our very brief discussions, Dr. Jackson, McGehee Engineering, Kathy's played a significant role in this. And there are probably better ways to do things that we can bring some efficiency, allow better utilization of the streets we have there, parking, and it's important to get this traffic study done before the end of the school year, which is right around the corner. So I would ask you to allow me to enter into this agreement with McGehee to get this traffic study in place, and then that information will be fed to the architect. We'll work with Dr. Jackson, and of course, any changes that might be recommended would come back to the council for approval.
Again, we discussed this as a work session. Any questions for the mayor on this agreement? If not, is there a motion and a second that we authorize the mayor to enter into the agreement with McGehee Engineering?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. Mayor, you got one more.
Council members, if you were standing on the east side of the Share Auditorium looking across Town Creek at the bridge, you'd see a small white structure there. Our ownership crosses Towns Creek. It's contiguous to the property that this little white building rests on. There's an option to purchase that property in place. We've been told that that option could be assigned to the city. We're talking with the architect. The plans at this point indicate there would be a pedestrian bridge across Town Creek, probably expand parking. It's contiguous on the north side of the property we own at our fire station. So it makes sense for the city to own this property, and the request here is to allow me to enter into negotiations for the acquisition of that property.
Any questions for the mayor? Again, we talked about this. If not, is there a motion and a second to authorize Mayor O'Meara to enter into negotiations for the purchase of the property?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. Thank you, Mayor. Keith, you've got consider adoption of a resolution to award the bid for the paving area in the TAP 5 sidewalk project.
This is conjunction with the TAP Phase 5 project. This work would consist of milling overlay and striping of 20th Street and an area on 3rd Avenue. On April 26, 2022 at 2 p.m., we opened bids. The bids were opened by Robert Nelson, Mayor O'Meary, Kathy Chambliss, and myself. We had 3 qualified bidders. The low bidder for that project was Central Alabama Asphalt, $108,766.50. And what we're asking for this morning is to allow Mayor O'Meary to enter into that contract to perform this work.
Any questions for Keith? If not, is there a motion and a second that we adopt the resolution to award the bid for the paving of the TAP 5 project?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second? All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes.
And item number 15, consider adoption of resolution for nuisance abatement. Today I have unsafe structures and grass and weeds. We will need 2 separate motions for this. Unsafe structures, 811 Highland Avenue, and that's in District 1. That's the only one I have of that, if you want to go ahead and get it.
Any questions for Keith on this? Is there a motion and a second that we approve that 811 Highland Avenue as unsafe structure?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second? All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. All right.
And then grass and weeds, I have a few of
And yes,
those.
yeah, I'm sorry.
806 Skyland Street, it's District 1. 1700 Euclid Avenue, District 1. 701 4th Avenue, that's District 1. 400 8th Street West, District 4. 1404 9th Avenue, District 4. 1300 22nd Street West, District 5. 2710 Florida Avenue, District 5. And I've got one that's not on, that you won't have a slide of, 409 6th Street West, and it's District 4.
You heard Keith's presentation. Any questions for Keith about the grass and weeds for the nuisance abatement? If not, is there a motion and a second that we approve the grass and weeds as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second? All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Russ, or Judd, you're up. Consider adoption of resolution to allow for change in the paying of sick time benefits relative to insurance benefits.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is the resolution we discussed at the last meeting where we take more than consecutive days and not count against you for your insurance benefits.
Again, we talked about this at the work session. Any questions for John? If not, is there a motion and a second that we adopt the resolution to allow for the change?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion
A second.
and a second? All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. All right, Judd, consider adoption of an ordinance that was presented last time regulating the charitable bin donation, the charitable donation bins.
Yes, sir. This was the ordinance discussed about charitable bins and requiring to get permits for those and establishing some rules around the sightliness of that and the location of those and permitting of those applications and oversight.
Okay.
We discussed last time.
And again, we talked about this, and any questions for Judd? No? No? Is there a
Thank you.
motion and a second that we adopt the resolution for the charitable donation bins?
I will make that motion.
Have a motion
A second.
and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judd. Kathy, you've got item number 18, consider adoption of ordinance levying ad valorem taxes, which is not changing the rate.
That's true. This is just the annual request that comes from the Revenue Commissioner that keeps our collecting and assessing fees the same. And absolutely no change in the ad valorem tax rate. It's ready for your approval.
This was introduced the last time. Is there a motion and a second that we adopt the ordinance levying ad valorem taxes?
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion
Second.
And a second? All in favor?
Yes.
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 And yes. Comments from the mayor?
I'm fine, Mr. President.
Thank you. Comments from the council members?
I would like to say that Friday night, I so enjoyed getting out and going to Family Fun Night, and shout out to Jasper Main Street. It was part of the Jasper Eats. I met a lot of young, new little families, and it was great. And to all the people that set up the activities, the local businesses, it was a great night. And then followed by, I thought nothing could top that, but last night, Yoga on Main. It's the first time to have it, and it's right over here, across from Twisted Barley beside Gina Scruggs, but it's free for the month of May, thanks to sponsors, and there were so many people there, and it was so nice just sitting out downtown, so that was wonderful. But I also, coming up today is the Play Like a Girl exhibit opening reception at Bankhead House, kinda liking that, telling the story of female athletes, and, so that's from 2 to 4 today, and then don't forget, we've got Art in the Park Saturday, so
And
it's
Yoga on
exciting
Main-
to see all this
Yeah.
stuff going on around here.
Yoga on Main Street was not on the street itself.
No,
It
we
was-
were right beside the street, but there were people that would come by and wave and honk at us, but it was very nice. It's from 6:30 to 7:30, Mondays and Thursdays. Hopefully continuously always, but for sure free for the month of May. So come out, anybody can do it. You can do it. You can do it. Just breathe. Just breathe and relax. It definitely helps when you've got a council meeting the
that's
next day to go sit and breathe and relax for an hour.
Oh, boy,
So.
and drink a beer.
Well, then you
And
could
twist
walk
the
down the
Barley.
street.
Any other comments from council members? Willie, concerning your concern on the courts, is it okay if Jessica gets the same people to look at
Oh, yeah,
that?
that's fine. He's looked at them before. He's aware
Okay.
of them.
And you may want to discuss and see if there's any other usage type things you want with those, or just,
Yeah, I mean, and the
Incorporating
pickleball,
and-
that's
Yeah.
Right,
upgrade,
yeah,
yeah.
upgrading, incorporating into that.
if no other comments from the council members, are there any comments, from the audience? Please step to the podium and state your name. If not, is there a motion and a second to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Yes.
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 Yes. Meeting.